Is Mercedes Moné finally headed to AEW? One report suggests that her debut is coming soon. We talk about that on Wrestling Reaction. All right, so we're going to read it straight from the screen here. This is from Wrestling Observer, Dave Meltzer. I know what some people think of Dave's reporting, but I'm just going to read it word for word so that there's no kind of, beating around the bush here. This is exactly what it says. He wrote on Sunday that on last night's show, there were no teases for Mercedes Moné or for her appearing Wednesday in Jacksonville. What I know is that AEW does expect her to start on TV soon, but as noted, until it happens and the contract itself is signed, I wouldn't consider anything 100%. One would think there would be some sort of tease of a surprise if she was to appear, since that's been the case with most major signings. But Sting's original debut in Jacksonville came out of nowhere. So that is your setup here. And again, if you've watched professional wrestling, if you're on the internet, you know that the topic has been debated in recent weeks, months about Mercedes Moné's future. A lot of it has centered around her in AEW. We saw her on screen at All In last year. She's not wrestled a match since May of last year due to the ankle injury. And clearly, is considered one of the top free agents out there in terms of where she heads next. And there's been a lot of rumors surrounding what her move is going to be here. Is it as simple as her going to AEW? Pretty much all the reports at this point, the momentum is swinging in that direction, it seems. It seems like it is pretty clear that she is going to be wrestling for AEW. But there is something that was said there and has been said in other reports too, that until it is 100% done in terms of the contract, until that graphic is up that Mercedes Moné is all elite, you never discount anything. And you never discount the possibility of WWE putting up the money to perhaps sign her and bring her back to the company. There have been other reports out there, rumors, whatever, that perhaps the two sides were far apart on a financial, agreement. So meaning that perhaps one side thought, the worth was more than the other. And that is where you kind of get to a standstill. And again, perhaps that's what led Mercedes Moné to ultimately choosing AEW. We don't know officially yet, but we do know that it seems like, not just Dave Meltzer reporting this, there have been other reports as well, that this seems to be the scenario, is that she is going to debut on AEW. And I think what's interesting about that is, look, it is a women's division that I said in another video here on the channel. If you go on the channel, you look at the one I did on Deonna Purrazzo. She made her debut last week on AEW television. I said that was a huge signing for the division because it feels like it's a new year. It's a situation and an opportunity perhaps for Tony Khan to sort of reset things on the women's division. He's heard all the criticism. I've seen all the criticism. There have been plenty of instances where the criticism is warranted in terms of how they book the women's division. But I don't think it's a lack of talent anymore. I think there's talent there. It's just the booking has not always met, I think, the talent that's on the roster. And it feels like this is kind of a situation where you bring in Purrazzo, Britt Baker's coming back soon. If you bring in Mercedes Moné, look at what Tony Storm's doing. Jamie Hayter's going to come back eventually. You've got a real opportunity here. If you want to, again, erase some of the criticism, have an opportunity to really push this women's division forward, there's no doubt no matter what your opinions are on Mercedes Moné, she is a name with a very dedicated, hardcore fan base that is going to follow her to AEW if that is indeed where she winds up. And she is going to be, a very popular star for that company. And I think that it is a great example. Again, this is not just the opportunity for Mercedes Moné to kind of come back out and maybe showcase what she wants to prove moving forward in her career, but also for AEW and Tony Khan to prove that, hey, we know how to perhaps book this women's division. We know what it's going to take to really push this thing forward. And again, take away some of the criticism that has been, dealt their way in recent years. And so I'm curious to see if that's what happens. If she debuts, when and where. I mean, look, like, it is a good point that, Sting's debut came out of nowhere. Am I comparing Mercedes Moné's debut to Sting? It's a different scenario, different situation. But it is possible that they could bring her out as, something that garners buzz on Wednesday night show this week on Dynamite at Daly's Place. Very possible that could happen. Because maybe it's something where Tony Khan's like, hey, we just debuted a new signing last week. We're going to debut a new signing this week. And for a while there, that was kind of the theme anyways, right? There was somebody new coming out every week on TV. So it wouldn't exactly be anything new in terms of how they have done things in the past. But maybe they're also waiting for the right time, or just call it what it is. Or maybe the contract's not signed yet. Maybe it's not official. And maybe there is still that slight possibility that Mercedes Moné and WWE are going to find a way to make this work. And she returns to the company because remember, I always say this, right? We can see all the reports and we know that in the the era of 24/7 communication, news, like something can change at sort of a moment's notice in terms of where things stand on negotiations and all of that type of stuff. And there's no doubt that, there is great opportunity on both sides here. But just like with CM Punk, there were a lot of reports saying that there is no way that CM Punk is showing up at Survivor Series. And who showed up at the end of Survivor Series? It was CM Punk. WWE is still the company with the most, pedigree. I guess there's a Triple H pun if you want to use it in terms of, if they want to find a way to sign her, they will put themselves in a position to find a way to sign her. But it's all going to be dependent on whether or not it's pretty much a done deal on the AEW side, which again, if you look at the reports in recent days, it does seem like there is a lot of positive momentum for that happening. So what can we expect from Mercedes Moné in AEW in the women's division? We'll talk about that if and when she does officially debut, which could come this week on Dynamite. But curious to hear you guys and what you think about this. Should she join AEW? Do you think it's already a done deal? Will she show up on this week's Dynamite? If not, do you think there is any possibility? Is there a slight possibility? Is there a good possibility that she returns to WWE, perhaps at the Royal Rumble, something like that? Is that possible? Let me know what you think in the comments. Always appreciate your feedback and hope you're enjoying everything else here on our new Wrestling Reaction YouTube channel. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Again, we've a new channel, trying to pump up the subs, putting out a lot of content for you guys. So always appreciate the discussion. So let me know what you think about Mercedes Moné potentially debuting soon for AEW.